Check. Hello, welcome to the Bradley J Show. It looks like we're live. How are you? Today I want to talk about not traveling. You know me as a travel person, but I have to tell you that I have 10 reasons to not travel today. It's not the time. And it's definitely not the time. And will it ever be the time again? Well, I don't know. But let me get right to the 10 reasons why this is certainly not the time to travel. I mean, you can guess some of them, but let me run through my experience. It used to be that travel was about freedom. You could book a flight, get a seat on an airplane, and maybe even get a nonstop in a fairly comfortable seat. Now, the hassles are manifold, and it's just not as fun. Are you ready to go through the 10 reasons? Let me get them up here. I wrote them down ahead of time. By the way, busy day today. I'm preparing for the Ignore the Machine radio show on WZBC at Saturday at 10. I've also posted a link to last week's show, which is on Mixcloud. So recently went to Portugal and experienced many of these things that I'm about to tell you about. Now, I know that during COVID, we were cooped up for a long time, and the number one thing you want to do is get out. A lot of people actually moved, which was a bad plan because, I mean, a lot of people just moved out to get out of the city, not really trying to live away from the city. And there's a lot of variables they didn't take into account, and so now people are moving back. Same kind of thing with traveling. There are a lot, you think, oh, I'm going to go. I got to go now. Been cooped up for a long time. But there are a lot of variables that you have to think about. During COVID, it really sucked. I went to Rome. And I went because I had an opportunity. I had a big-time, heavy-duty connection in the Vatican, believe it or not. And it would have been stupid not to go. But back then, during COVID, oh my gosh, what a hassle. There was the testing, and that may come again, who knows, but the testing was such that you had to have a test that had been taken fewer than 72 hours prior, and yet still valid upon arrival. If you get your test too far in advance, it won't be valid when you get there. If you get it too close, you may not get your results back. There were these travel clinics that were charging enormous amounts of money to just test you quickly. If you went to a public place, you couldn't be sure you were going to get it back. Plus, the chances of getting COVID at a testing place are probably pretty good, right? Compared to just out and about. Then there was the paperwork, and you had to show that you had been vaccinated. And in many countries, you had to make out this other document, in which you gave them the proof that you had been vaccinated, and you had to tell them where you were going to be. It was called a passenger locator. I think it was called an EU passenger locator. That was another hassle. Not to mention all the rest of the hassles. Now, although those things are mostly gone, there are still a lot of hassles, and I just don't recommend going. Yes, I know. Yeah, you felt cooped up, and now finally, or this summer particularly, got to get out of town. Got to go. But here are the reasons. Here are 10 reasons why it's not good. Maybe better than the summer, but still not great. Number 1, airline hassles. Well, actually, that's not number 1. A number of these come under airline hassles. Number 1, long lines at the airport. Long lines. Not sure. Not sure why. It seems like so many people are traveling now that the lines are enormous. Just such a bummer. Number 2, it's uncomfortable these days with the. Have you been on an airplane lately? It's insulting the amount of legroom you get. It's not. I do not believe it is healthy. I believe it is unhealthy. They cram you in like factory farm. We shouldn't allow it for chickens, and we shouldn't allow it for people. Uncomfortable, and I would say unhealthy. And the next thing, number 3, canceled flights, missed connections, and seat changes. Even now, I had a flight canceled. I had a really short vacation, 4 days, 2 travel days, 6 days. But they canceled my return flight and gave me another one 6 hours earlier. But on a 4-day trip, that's significant. That means I lose one night. Instead of leaving at 1 p.m., I left at 6. That meant I had to get some sleep, if I was going to sleep, to bed at 7, which took away a whole evening. One of only 4 evenings. No, just boom. Yeah, we cancel it, whatever. And I'm hearing that it's due to staffing problems. Can't get enough pilots. Not sure how that works. Don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why, but that's for another discussion. Missed connection. That's a real problem. If there are delays, you miss your connection, you're screwed, and it's a giant hassle. There just seem to be fewer flights, which means you have worse connections, fewer options for connections, long waits in the connection. Each of my layovers was 3 hours, which for me is a bummer. That's my least favorite thing. Then there's flight changes. If you have, as far as the aircraft, they changed my aircraft 3 times. Each time gave me a different seat, and I had paid for a good seat. Luckily, they gave me the thing I paid for each time. But other flights, they do not. And so you have to chase them down for some sort of refund, and that's a big hassle. Next, number 5. Expensive hotels. Hotels off the charts, domestically especially. Remember when, and this wasn't that long ago. This is not ancient history. Hotels might have cost $175, something like that, for an okay hotel. Now it's $350, $400. It's crazy. They're doing it because they can, because everybody's freaked out. They had a lot of money from the stimulus. They wanted to go. They said, I'm going no matter what. Maybe that's just what it costs. I'm a sheep. I'm going to pay whatever they ask. And so since people paid it, that's the deal. Expensive hotels. Really, really stupid expensive. Hopefully, people will slow down on their travel. The demand will be lower, and the prices will be lower. Which brings me, by the way, to a real problem I have with Airbnb in the United States. In Europe, I haven't noticed this. In the United States, it's just despicable. The prices that they charge for the cleaning fee, in my humble opinion, seem misleading. And they also seem outrageous. Say you want to go somewhere for 2 nights. Your hotel might be what? Your Airbnb might be, I don't know, $300. You might be able to find a place for, say, $300 for the 2 nights, maybe. And the cleaning fee is going to be so prohibitively high, and with the other fees, forget about it. It's almost worth it to travel overseas if you're going to travel somewhere. Airbnb, I do not do Airbnb in the States because of those cleaning fees and those other fees. Expensive hotels. The demand is so high. Number 6, during the summer, rental cars were out of control. I don't know what they are now, but it's all due to everyone trying to travel now, and this is not the time. Even now, I have not looked up rental cars, so that could be better now. You let me know. Overall expenses for everything, because the demand is high, is number 6. Just it's expensive. For meals, for the demand being high, makes everything expensive. Number 8, COVID and flu is still a thing. It's not the thing it used to be, but it's not a deal breaker either. But with the planes crammed in the way they are and the lines at the airport, I hadn't experienced crowds face to face, like breathing right on you, till I got to the airport. Not even rarely on the T, sometimes on the T, but long periods of time with huge amounts of people right in your face. Flu is a thing as well. Not going to end your life, but have you had the flu? A number of times I've gotten flu on flights or during travel, and it's just a bummer. And COVID is a thing as well. You still could get it. Not the huge deal it was, but like people say, maybe you want to just think of it as the flu, but who wants the flu? These things are all none of them may be by themselves a deal breaker, but all added up, it's just, why bother? It's not worth it. And just anywhere you go, there are too many other tourists just walking around in your way, in your line of sight, in your face. And I don't want to go and see other tourists dragging their roller cases around. I don't want long lines at the check-in at the hotel. So everybody felt the need to go, and that means it's not the time. Maybe in the winter, we'll see. Hi, Bradley. It's Carla. I think it may be some folks are trying to, what they perceive, make up for lost time. Right, make up for lost time. I don't know if travel will ever be fun again. We'll see. Just too many people. Too many people in the restaurant. Too many people in Portugal. Tour buses cram. It's the Ribeira down there by the famous thing you always see in Porto. Stinky tour buses, tour groups on bikes, tour groups on this, tour groups on, what do you call those things? Segways. What a dumb name for a transportation machine. People everywhere. Tour groups being led by their little tour group leader. People lined up at the ice cream place. The tourist shopping area just mobbed. And you'd think that it would have calmed down by now to a point where it'd be fun again. But it was still crowded in September. My friend Mike was up in the White Mountains saying, Franconia Notch, mobbed. It's, if you want to go see nature and you're seeing a bunch of cars parked on the side of the road and hordes of people, it's no good. And the only thing to do really is now go on. Number 10, a day trip is so rewarding that a weekday day trip is so rewarding many times that it renders anything that requires a rent-a-car or getting on a plane not worth it. The things you can do during the day, during the week, and come home that night. There's so many wonderful things. There was Carter Hill Apple Orchard up in Concord, Hopkinton, New Hampshire, or something like Boscawen, New Hampshire. Something like that. A beautiful drive, not to a place where tourists go. Here's something. When's the last time you went to a movie in the theater? What a big adventure that is. Right? There are just so many things you can do that do not require an airplane, a passport, standing in line. I want you to feel good about not traveling, saying, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to save my money. I'll give you a few other things that are factors for me. When I go away, there are things I could have been doing. So for me, now this is different than for you. For me, I've gone everywhere I want to go that I can think of, and now I'm starting to repeat trips. I don't have any interest in South America. Don't know why. Nobody can convince me so far. I've looked at it. Ecuador this, Costa Rica, can't work up any interest. China, no thanks. I'm not going to give them any of my travel dollars. I missed my opportunity for that. I'd like to go to Istanbul, but they had a big, they're still having riots and stuff, and where they have the riots many times are right where you would be. Morocco, maybe, but the regular places certainly not. Well, no. I'll wait. Here are other things for me. I'm trying to stay healthy. If you're traveling, of course you're going to throw your diet out the window. You're going to eat, and you should if you go somewhere, whatever they have there. And you're eating like really unhealthy stuff, like Portugal, right? Sausages, charcuterie, that thing called a francesinha, which is a chunk of bread, some egg, some sauce, some cheese, some chicken, some sausage, everything in there. More cheese and some more sauce and another piece of bread. It's like, actually for me, I could be doing home improvement. That's kind of what I'm into now for a day off. I really like just driving like to Maine. Went to Maine on Sunday and Monday. And that was nice. Didn't go to the White Mountains for the foliage this year. Too many people. Went to Maine. It was very nice. I went to the beach, as you saw, Molly, on the beach in slow motion. And for me, there is, the more places you go, there's a margin for me. There's a margin of diminishing returns. Each trip you take is a little less exciting than the previous trip. I'm glad I went when I could, before COVID and before the mobs decided it was cool to do. So all that's different for me. But right now, the airline hassles, the uncertainty of the airline, the long lines, the uncomfortable seats on the airline, cancel flights, missed connection, flight changes, expensive hotels, expensive rent-a-cars, and still with the mobs, increased chance of flu, increased chance of COVID. And when you get there, you're wading through people, it's not the time. Hopefully, people will get over it. They'll burn out on the idea, and things will get back to normal. I do urge the airlines to change their attitude a little bit towards the customer and not treat them like animals in a factory farm. That's a real issue with me. Oh, there's one other thing, a big one, as far as the airlines go. Customer service. Say you need to get a hold of them. Good luck. Have you tried to speak to anyone? Have you been able at all to speak to someone at an airline? Not everything can be handled online. And even if it can, maybe you can't find out how. You need to say, can you walk me through this online? Here we go. Here's a tip. The next time you're in Maine, try this place. An associate of mine runs it. Anna Bessacook Farm. What goes on there, Carla? Cows and stuff. So that's it. Maybe you're thinking, and maybe you're beating yourself up for not traveling, feeling guilty like you should travel. Don't. Embrace the local. Embrace your local farm, apple orchard, museum. What do you bet Salem is going to be so crazy mobbed this year? So, like starting now, don't go to Salem. Put a pin in, go to some really run-down town up in Vermont. Find some nothing town and go there. You want a great nothing town to go to? Bellows Falls. What's going on there? Nothing. But it's nice because there's nothing going on. There are no people. They have some cafe called the Moon something Cafe, Barking Moon, Moonbeam. Don't know. I love it. Had a salad, sat out with my brother. That was fine. If you didn't travel before COVID, you missed it. And it's not going to be any fun for a while. Lola Pope. Oh, this is good because I'll be able to tell you something. COVID has hollowed out so many services because staff left or retired, right? I'm seeing more and more bad service across the board. From Target to my book publisher. We should do another whole thing on service. Yes, I got to write that down. Do a thing on service. I need to plug somebody for good service, though. Hold on. Bad service, right. Unqualified are now filling positions. Oh, God, yes. Yes. For some reason, the work ethic is not what it used to be. It really is not. I heard someone say when I asked them the other day, what do you want to do? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? And that person said, I'm good with just being. And I thought, well, that would be nice. It would have been nice if you'd figured that out before you had your super expensive education. You don't need a good education just to be, right? Anyway, I need to do a shout out for good service. I'll do a bunch of shout outs. 1, Apple has good service. Say what you will about Apple, they have good service. 2, the small businesses I like, there are 3 now. Well, Tandy Leather is not a small business, I guess. No, they're probably big. The Tandy Leather at North Chelmsford, where I buy my stuff, my supplies, my leather, my buckles and stuff. Such good service. There's a person named Lauren up there. Answer the phone right away. By the way she answers the phone. There's going to be good service. It's somebody who knows how to speak. Maybe folks now don't know how to speak because they just like to text. And they answer the phone like, hello. But Lauren, hello, clearly there to help you out. Tandy Leather, 5 stars, love you. And Lauren, thank you so much. If anybody knows Tandy Leather or Lauren, please tell them Bradley J. digs you. And, of course, another one is Spectacle Eyewear. My friend Paul is my friend partly because of the good service. That's how we got to know him, through the store. And the service there was so good. He used to be in Cambridge. Now he's in South End on Tremont Street. You need glasses? Even if you don't need glasses, go to Spectacle and hang out. And you'll know that when the time comes to get glasses, that you'll probably go there. And it's actually worth driving in from somewhere. Maybe you could couple it up with a little tour of Boston. Good afternoon, Barton. Good afternoon, Steve Barnes. No relation to... Never mind. Off to Dublin in 2 weeks. Son graduating from Trinity College. Not much for traveling, but my first time there. Couldn't take being on a plane for more than 6 hours. Not now you couldn't, because it sucks. That's right. So you're going to go to Dublin. I've been fortunate enough to go there, I think, 4 times. And it was through work, kind of. I was a little quick story about Dublin that no one knows. I worked at WBCN, and Jameson did a thing where they broadcast on St. Patrick's Day from the old Jameson Brewery, which is now kind of a museum. The real brewery's in the center of the country. But radio stations from all over the country go there, and they like the folks to do their morning show from there as a way to promote Jameson. BCN didn't. They didn't want to take their morning team away. They didn't want to sacrifice mornings because that's for the ratings or whatever. So I got to go one time because I was not that important. Sometimes not being important has its benefits. And I had a good time. I got along with the organizers. So I went. I got to do that 3 or 4 times in a row. I don't even remember. You wouldn't believe how deluxe it was. You get there to Dublin, pick you up in a limo, drive you to the fancy hotel, and all day long it's Jameson. Jameson and for lunch. You could have had it for breakfast if you want. Jameson for lunch. Jameson and cranberry. Jameson and this. Jameson and that. And then they take you on some tour, and then there would be a nice fancy dinner with Jameson, all at these fancy Irish places. And they were so cool. I said, hey, do you mind if when you book my flight, you book it like an extra 2 days out so I can run around on my own? They go, yeah, you have to pay for your own hotel, but that's cool. So I got to go to take the train or the buses around to down to Tralee, Galway, the Burren, all that. And that was one of the good things about working for BCN. One of the bad thing, and it ties into what we're talking about, got the flu on the trip. And right as we're taking off to return, had to stop in Galway, so he didn't really get that high because Galway's only about 7 miles away. I start shaking. I'm like, with the flu, when you start getting the shivers, you shake uncontrollably. Well, yeah. I thought, oh no, this is going to be a bummer. Luckily, it's not a long flight. And also there was a thunderstorm. So it was really, the turbulence was bad because we were in a thunderstorm. Wham, wham, I'm shaking. The plane's shaking. There's a nun sitting on my right, which plays into the story. And we're kind of like, bouncing like crazy and starting to kind of land. And then, boom! Pink flash. Boom! Giant explosion. I thought, oh my God, this is it. I actually thought the list of stuff that could be is very short. I thought an engine blew up and that we were going to crash for sure. I thought the plane was going to tip on its side and crash immediately. 20 seconds passed. Did not tip over, did not crash. 30 seconds passed. A minute passed. And then the wheels came down and we shortly thereafter landed. I had no idea. Of course, I should have put 2 and 2 together, realized we were in a thunderstorm. We were hit by lightning. Probably the closest I've ever been to a lightning strike because it hit the wing and I'm in the plane. I was on the right-hand side. It hit the left-hand wing. So it was probably, maybe it hit 20 to 30 feet from me. But have you ever been close to a lightning strike and it's just a pink flash? Not white, it's pink. When you're in it, it's pink. This was pink. Boom! So they took the plane away and they checked it out. And there was a burn mark where the lightning had hit. I thought, doesn't lightning screw up the electronic instruments, man, or something? But no, they put us back on the same plane and we went home. One thing that's good about the Dublin airport now, Steve, is that you can do your U.S. entry there, which is a smaller airport. I believe you don't have to do it when you get here, which can be terrible. there can be a long, snaky line waiting for you to get through customs. You can do your custom stuff over there. So do that. Didn't I go over with Tank one time? No. Did not go there with Tank. I don't think I ever went with Tank to a foreign destination. We went with Tank 3 times or 2 times to Crested Butte. Planes are hit by lightning often. I know, Lola Pope. I hear that. But still scared the snot right out of me. I'm telling you, the white hot, scared, this is it. Oh, yeah, by the way, beside me was the nun. She was cool and calm and explained to me that she didn't, God was taking care of her. And I thought, wow, how nice it must be to have that going for you. And she was right, I guess. Lola says planes are hit off, and I have a story about a flight down south in a small airplane. My grandmother thought we would crash and burn. Were you on that plane that got hit, Lola? It'll definitely get your attention. And I was in a big plane. Imagine being in a small plane that got hit by lightning. That would be even worse. Boom! So that said, I know many of you are still itching to travel. This is not the time. Airline hassles, long lines at everything, uncomfortable seats in the airplane, canceled flights, missed connections, huge crowds at the airport breathing on you. I mean breathing on you. Expensive hotels, expensive rent-a-cars, expensive everything. With all those people, more chance of flu and COVID, and competition for all the attractions wherever you go. My advice is just don't. How do I feel about taking long train rides? You know that, don't you? I'm a train freak. I'm imagining the train rides are the same way now. As a matter of fact, I tried to take a long train ride and it was expensive and booked up. Yes, Lola Pope, I love long train rides. I've taken from Chicago to Seattle. Another time, Seattle to Chicago. That's the Empire Builder. I did the Chicago to San Francisco. I did the Chicago to L.A., which is the Southwest Chief. I did the New Orleans to Los Angeles. I did the New Orleans to Memphis. I did the Seattle to L.A. twice. That's another whole thing. I should do a whole thing on that. Or maybe I should just do it now. Oh, let's do it now. Let me tell you what those are like. One thing that's good is they're not that expensive. Another thing that's good is that is the trip. For me, that's not the way to get to the place. That is the place. The train is the place. So I just, for example, go to Chicago, take a flight. I don't know, maybe get there at 9, take the train in. Maybe the big train leaves at 2. Take some flight to Chicago. That gives you plenty of time to get to the Union Station in Chicago. When I get to Chicago, I'll stock up on stuff in my backpack so I don't have to buy everything on the train, but they do have stuff to eat on the train. Say the train's pulls out at 2, and the staff, I don't like the staff on the Amtrak. The conductors, they're kind of, they keep on yelling at each stop, or not every stop, but many stops. It's going to get terribly crowded. It's going to get crowded. Move your stuff. Look out. It's going to be, they're constantly reminding you and making you feel like it's going to be a cattle car, even if it's not. Like, they're not trying to make you feel good about the train. They're going to make you feel like at every stop, oh, this stop's going to be crowded, which is a bummer. On the long-haul trains, even the economy seats are big and recline, and they even have a footrest, so there's that. So you're always praying that no one sits beside you. I have never gotten a sleeper car, couldn't justify it. I toughed it out. If there's no one sleeping beside you, if there's no one sitting beside you, you can put both seats back and kind of have a sleeping bag and sleep. You can actually kind of sleep, especially if you have a pill. Day one, nobody talks. People go to the viewing car. Day one, there's nothing really to see. You're outside of Chicago. There's nothing to see. It's a bummer. Just forget that day, write that night off. Just relax. Go to the get something to eat. It's the next day that's the big day. Now, how do you sleep at night? Well, you could get in a seat, like I say, if there's no one beside you. But if there is, you can sleep in the observation car. It's an art. People do it. They have thoughtfully designed the seats, the little benches in there with a curve in it, so you can't really sleep on them very comfortably. You can try, but there is a little space between the side-facing benches and the wall of the train that you can't. It might be 18 inches. You can stick a sleeping bag down there and stretch out. It's loud. It's bright. It's not comfortable. You're definitely doing the hardcore thing. But again, if you take a sleeping bag and a sleeping pill, you might be able to sleep a little. It's not fun. But you do meet people. Again, I think it's probably super crowded now and not as good. You do meet people. That's the big thing. And the second day, people have been alone long enough, so they start to get kind of lonesome and they start striking up conversations. And you will converse with people you would never, ever, ever, ever converse with otherwise. Liberals will converse with conservatives. A college girl will talk to an old guy. And there's some sort of neutralness about it in terms of both sex and age and politics, so that you get to talk with people you never would otherwise. Going through Dakota, talked to some guy who was a fracker. Now, I've always been, taught to not like fracking, but then you get to know this human being whose job is to check the drills or the pipes to make sure they don't have cracks in them. And Lola asked me if it was a good experience. Lola's right. Take day trips. Don't leave, Lola. I have a message for you. It'll save me a phone call. I do love trains. I wanted to take a train these days would still be a good experience. As I said, I tried to book, and it seemed like so many were sold out that was also crowded. Maybe in the winter it wouldn't be, but the bummer in that is that it gets dark at 4 o'clock or something. So if you're trying to view stuff, your viewing is limited. On the other hand, it might be worth it. A lot cheaper. But let me tell you some more. There's a dining car where you sit down dinner. I never did that. I would just go to the snack car, and for $6 they had an Angus burger. I would get that, a little bottle of wine. I'd brought with me a lot of water. For breakfast, I'd have cereal. I'd have Special K and milk. I'd order a Special K and milk and a bagel. And down in that area, though, it is kind of, it's not really a secret, but in the bottom of the viewing car is where the dining car is. It's where the snack car is. And half of that car is kind of the snack car. But the other half, it's a place to eat your snacks, and people don't hang out there generally. So that's a great place to hang out. Enjoy your little bottle of wine if you want to get away from the rest of the people. Also, there are a lot of people down there getting snacks on the other side, so you can talk with them if you want. It's a great place to strike up conversations. And you can make sure you take a business card so you can keep in touch. I met all kinds of people, like some dude rancher from Montana with a big old hat. And then there was this guy that I've told you about, who's looking for boundaries, it turns out. He was in the viewing car burping these big grotesque burps, these belches, on purpose. Really awful. And people would look around and kind of grumble and go, what's going on with this guy? I tend to be confrontational, or I used to be. Or, I don't know, maybe just not a wimp. So I went up to the guy and said, dude, what is your major malfunction? That is what I said to him. No, if he'd, maybe it's a good thing he didn't say, well, I have cancer that causes me to burp or something. I'm glad that that's not the case. He was just doing it to get attention, I guess. So I confronted him with it. He stopped. Not only did he stop, A little later, he came over and wanted to hang around with me. He was just looking for some, what do you call them, boundaries. Well, I provided the boundary. I have a photo of him. I could almost share it now if I could find it. I don't want to bore you with it. I took a photo of him because I wanted to remember. So what else? The second night, is also pretty brutal unless you get a sleeping car. I've looked into the sleeping cars. If you have two people, like you're a girl or your lover or you're a friend, whatever, then it might be worthwhile. To be by myself, the price went from like $250 to $950 or something like that for 2 days. And nowadays I might do it now that I'm retired, but back then I never did. Day number 2 is you're approaching your destination. It's nice. Now you know a lot of people. Sometimes on the tour they have these organizations that give you the guide, tell you what's going on in the area. They had one out of Seattle. And you go over these mountains. You go over the Rocky Mountains on some of the trips. You go over the Sierras. It's cool. I'll tell you the best thing about it. There's not much that relaxes me. That relaxes me. Because there's nothing you can do. There is no other thing. All you can do is watch the country go by. You have no chores because you can't do any chores. A lot of times you have no cell service. Because at least they didn't have Wi-Fi then. Maybe they do now, but they may not. All you can do is lie there in your awesome, big, fat, reclining seat and watch the country go by. East Texas and the swamps. West Texas and the deserts. New Mexico, whatever, Arizona. It's nice to wake up. The first sun's coming out over the mountains and you realize, whoa, we're in the desert. We're in the desert and you're sipping your coffee and the desert's going by. I love the desert. So there's a lot of good about it. Right now, I'm guessing that it'll still be crowded and it's getting darker and darker, so your viewing time will be limited. But still, if you really want to do something, but then there's this. I would always fly to Chicago or the point to get there, which defeats the whole purpose. So if you did it, you'd have to go all the way from, say, Boston, and that's the trip from Boston to Chicago is just a bore. I'm guessing. It's not the same level of train. The equipment's not as good. The seats aren't as good. It's just boring. So that adds on some boredom both ways. And if you really don't want to fly, you'd have to take the train both ways, which would be long, very long. And one other thing that's kind of a downside. In my experience, the men's rooms, the restrooms did not get cleaned up very well. And by the end of these trips, they were trashy. They were a mess. Also, there is a little thing you can squirt to drink water, like some water. Don't. I'm just telling you, don't. So there you go. So usually when I'd get to my destination, some days I'd go just right to the airport. I don't need to see Los Angeles again. It's if you're departing for New Orleans, you do one night in New Orleans and then you get up, leave the next morning. Seattle is a hellhole now. I don't need to spend any time in Seattle. I'm telling you, Seattle is a hellhole. At least like what's it called? The Pioneer Square area. I don't mean to be political. I am a liberal, but I think they may have taken it too far because they're, at least portions of the city, you can't even go there. Same with Portland. Really bad. In Seattle one time, I may have had a flight at 8, but the town sucked so badly, I went to the airport early. There's people jumping out of doorways, junkies jumping out of doorways, like a real life fun house. What is this? Blah, 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 blah. Craig is a state senator from Maine. So I don't get that. So Lola Pope, about the belt. I think I got the buckle, all good. I think when I sent it to you, it didn't have the keeper, the part you tuck the belt into, so I had to make one. And since that belt is suntanned, naturally suntanned, as you folks know, I make belts and wallets. The belt is tanned. The keeper, the new keeper that I made for it, out of the same leather, is not yet tanned, so it's currently in the window tanning, and it might take 3 days. And I can send it, but it won't quite match. I can send it before 3 days, but if I let it tan for 3 days, it'll match. It's been so long, you probably don't care. So that's good. This has been a long talk, right? 45 minutes. Yikes. Service. That is a good topic maybe for tomorrow. Or, no, actually, I think it might be most underrated band. As I was preparing for my show today, preparing today for the musical show on Saturday called Ignore the Machine on WZBC at 3, I selected an XTC song and realized once again that XTC is so far underrated. So many good songs, especially off Drums and Wires. Well, no. Even other albums. And I just thought, wow, I wonder what kind of suggestions I could get from the folks, the people, that would be you, about other underrated bands. What is your, don't tell me now, but just be aware that's going to be the topic for tomorrow. So think of underrated band. How about Sly and the Family Stone? Right? Or maybe they're highly rated. What about overrated? Don't tell me now. I'm just thinking. Overrated. What about Heart? Overrated? What about Jefferson Starship? Overrated? What about... Tom Petty? No. Some people will be hating on me for saying Tom Petty. No, Tom Petty is not overrated. Underrated. Jay Giles Band. Interesting. Sly and Heart, epic. Starship, not so much. Heart, epic. Yes. Magic Man, for me, and maybe Crazy on You. Magic Man was awesome. Sly's super epic. We built this city on rock and roll. I don't think so. That's going to be a good topic. You know what one of the best topics ever was when I was on BZ? Who knows? Maybe I'll be on BZ again. I definitely will be on with Morgan again. Actually, it's time. It's probably time to be on with Morgan again. But when I had my own show, one of the best topics ever was, what is the best? Initially, it was, what is the best power ballad? But then the big debate came to be, what is a power ballad? Because people were misconstruing it, at least as I saw it, on what a power ballad was. Not just a powerful song, but there's a kind of a structure to it, starting off real slow and nice, and getting big and expensive. Generally, there has to be long hair involved. I can't remember the others, but it really got super refined, and I became the arbiter of what was a power ballad or not. That was huge. That's a matter of how you define it. Yes, Lola says, thought one of your best was when you asked people what is the first slow dance you danced to. Oh, yeah. Well, you know mine was, hey, dude, hey, dude. No, hey, Jude. And I danced my first slow dance at the Bow Lake Grange Hall, where the girl named Rachel, I don't know, I probably don't want to say her last name. That was weird, right? Well, yeah, because, I went to this small town, so you're going to school from grade 1 through 8 with the same people. So you remember this person from grade 1. And now you're getting all in a sweat because you're slow dancing with a woman, which is like, whoa, I'm touching a girl, touching a woman. That was a trip. And the first slow dance being Hey Jude, that was like, what, 7 minutes long or something? shocking, just gripping the first slow dance. Mine was Lay on the QE2, and she was 15. Who was it with? Lola Pope. Live on my big breast bed. That's what he says, right? That's good. I mean, really slow dance. Isn't it? It's not really dancing, right? It's just kind of shifting your weight from one foot to the other. Right? No one ever taught us how to do it right. You'd think that's something they would teach. And no one ever taught guys how to dance either. Girls somehow get it. They all seem to dance naturally and have fun doing it with each other, and they're good at it. Guys don't. Not so much. Don't know why. Afraid to move our hips. Is that it? Lola Pope forgot who her first dance was with. You're kidding. Well, what was the situation? You're on the QE2. Was it on the water or was it at the dock? Was it in LA there? Were you with your family? What was the event? I remember the song and the dance more than the dance partner. At Claremont Junior High, gym classes, we were taught to waltz. Well, that's good. I wish somebody taught me that. My number one skill would be touch typing, but being able to dance. If you could dance, guys, you get all the girls, especially when you get old. Yeah, I've seen it. You go to, Sally O's in Harvard, in Union Square? Yeah. Union Square? In Somerville, anyway. And they have kind of a boomer day. Saturday's kind of a boomer day. And you get the women all dressed up nicely. And the men are slobs. But some of them can dance. And so, they get the girls. I guess I'll finish up with, the boat was on the water on the way to Southampton, England from New York in 1969. Whoa! That's a fantastic story you never told me after all these years. Good God. Anyway, guys, old guys, for crying out loud. Grooming. It's called grooming. Check it out. You ought to check it out sometime. You get your white hair all scraggled out. It looks stupid and bogus and gross. Take a little effort. If you have a beard, go to the barber and get some shape to it. And what was I watching last night? No, 2 nights. I was watching a movie. Some super hot woman, Rachel Weisz, was married to some computer guy, hipstery guy. She's all pulled together. He's got a beard. And he doesn't trim the neck. Just lets the beard grow on the neck. That is gross. Gross, gross, gross. If you're going to have a beard, if you're not going to shave, at least shave your stupid neck. Put some shape here. I have been guilty of not shaving my, keeping it tight. But I know I should feel guilty because it's ugly. So when these guys go to these dances, go to these events with the boomer women are all looking sharp, and the boomer men are looking scraggly, like they don't care, because they don't care. And the women still have to dance with these scraggly ass people. If a dude could both dance and had a little bit of grooming, you'd be able to rule the dance floor. You'd be able to rule that place anyway. You'd get all the girls. Pope says I could go on and on about wild eyebrows in older gentlemen. It's funny. Eyebrows are right there. I forget sometimes. And when I used to get my beard trimmed by the professional, she'd say, "You want me to fix those eyebrows?" I'd say, "Oh yeah, please do." It only takes a second, I guess. Just kind of brush them up and then whatever you do, don't shave them off. You'll look. It's not good. Color it. You mean the what? The beard? Yeah. Funny, I did that one time, and looked stupid. I used Just for Men. It did not look normal, did not look natural. It looked like I colored it. It looked horrible. Then when I went, I tried to scrub it out. I finally went to the barber again, and she said, "You colored your beard? Oh, gross." Well, we'll try to, just don't color your beard. Do you color your beard, Lou? You do, don't you? Well, if you're going to go red beard, fine. If you're going to go all out in like red, purple, if you're going to try to make it look real, forget it. If you're going to do bright red, well, I completely agree with that. Yeah, or purple or whatever. We used to do henna. Right, ear hair, that's a tricky one. Sneaks up on you. It does seem that the older you get, for some reason, hair grows out of your orifice. Not your mouth, hopefully, but your nose and your ears. Got to keep an eye on that. Look at his beard, two-tone, could be a new trend. You talking about Lou? Let's go back to Lou. I wish we could get a bigger picture of Lou. I can't. Okay. I should, what I should do is, I should get a collection of emails from people who want to join me, like a talk show. Like Howard had his crew of people. I could have, whenever I set up one of these broadcasts, I could have a group email. No, wait a minute. How would that work? Maybe in private chat, you could send me your email. No. It says chat with everyone in the studio. But if I'm the only one in the studio and I did it one at a time, you could send me your email and I could see it. I think I'm the only one that could see it. I could copy and paste it and send you an invite to join right on the spot. I'll have to ask the people at the tech support of StreamYard if that's doable. Mostly, thank you so much for sticking with me this long time. It's good to communicate with you, Lola Pope. Lola Pope and I have a long history, a long and colorful history, and it's nice to have. It's nice to have a history, I guess. A lot of Colin McBride, different types of histories with different people. Barton. Did we say hello to you, Barton? Yeah, we did. What does this say? Do you have progressive, and do you like them? Oh, glasses. I'll finish up with that because I did mention, I forgot to mention one place with service. Rick Walker's. I love Rick Walker's. All my bandanas, my lovely bandanas that I have, vintage bandanas, I get from there. I get all my cool cowboy rock and roll clothes there. Boots. They have better boot selections than most of the places I went to in Nashville, and they don't rip you off. It's a real joy to go there. That's Rick Walker's on Newbury Street. And as I said, Tandy Leather, Spectacle Eyewear, Rick Walker's, Apple, good customer service. Now, do I have progressives and do you like them? Good question. From Barton. I got my eyes examined last year. I could still see. It turns out I could still see. I did need a change in prescription. They asked me, do you have progressives? Everybody's kind of pushing the progressives on me. I did get progressives, and I don't really use them. I only need them if I'm going to read or do leather work for some reason. And so it really wasn't, if I had to only get one pair of glasses, would I get progressives? I don't think so. I think it would save up and have two, I don't know, would I? I might. There's this, though. It takes at least 2 weeks to get used to them. Don't make any judgments before 2 weeks, maybe even a month. I think most all glasses places give you return time, in case you don't like them. They'll tell you give it at least a week, but I say give it at least 2 weeks. Depending on your ratio of far to near. When you first put them on, you will hate them. You'll be like you're going to fall downstairs and stuff. After a while, your eyes are amazing. They do this. Your brain does this juggling act, and you do get used to them. Broadcast. Okay, I've been on for an hour now. Can you believe it? So thank you all. Will you do me a favor? Will you all do me a favor? If you haven't, go to YouTube and subscribe to all my channels. There's 3. Bradley J. Show, Bradley J. Travel, and Bradley J. Private or Personal. Can you just subscribe to those? And on Facebook, if you don't follow me, can you do that? Follow me on J Talking. Ta-ta for now. Exactly. Ta-ta for now, everybody. Bye.